Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Penalty Loop Podcast, a podcast about biathlon by Jordan Gottschalk from Penalty Loop and a regular guest, RJ Weiss from Biathlon Analytics.
Hello, RJ. How are you doing, bud?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing just fine. And, we've been talking about it for a while. Our long string of interviews actually starts today. Today we have Regina. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did.
Regina Ermits from Estonia is joining us today. And we're really excited. So you are our first interview of the fall, and you're kicking things off. So after you, I think we have 4 more interviews scheduled in the next couple of weeks. So you're our big leadoff.
Oh, that's great.
It is great. We're really excited about this because I think you and I have been talking back and forth about getting this scheduled for 3 or 4 months now, trying to get the time sorted out. And now that you're off at a training camp, everything's worked out. We're excited.
Yeah, that's great.
Yes.
I'm going to kick off with a question for you, Regina.
Yeah.
When you start the season, after your second race, are you going to be extra excited?
After the second race?
Yeah.
Extra excited for what?
So there's actually 2 things happening after your second race.
Okay.
No clue?
No.
Okay. So it will actually be you will have finished your 100th World Cup race, individual.
Oi.
Which also means in all the races, and you'll have one more than your husband Kalev.
Oh, well, that's.
And then if you then do 2 more, you'll have Kalev's 157 career World Cup races beat as well.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. I mean, it comes a little bit as a surprise because I thought that he did biathlon quite long, so he should be way ahead of me with the individual or the World Cup starts. So, well, but that's
According
great. That's
to
something.
the stats.
Yeah.
This is where you're at.
Yeah. Well,
so
that's
I
great.
just wanted to give you some extra motivation.
Okay, to finish the season at least.
No,
or the third World Cup. Okay.
So along those lines, RJ actually got really excited about it and he compiled some stats. So he wanted to know, between the two of you, you and your husband, who is the better shooter and who's the faster shooter?
That was actually a question we got when we now had the Summer World Championships. And I think, if we remember correctly, well, the standing shooting is no-brainer. That should be me. But in prone, I guess I would say he, because he was, we both had our ups and downs for sure, but I guess I don't know. I would say when I was younger, I was really good in prone shooting, but the last previous years I've got some, I don't know, I've become a little bit more like insecure about it. So it's not been that good, but I would say that in general, I've worked more with my shooting. So I would say that in the beginning I was worse, but thanks to the hard work, I would say now I'm better.
Yeah, both. So in prone, you have a higher percentage for your career, and you also shoot faster.
Okay.
And in standing, like you said, you are quite a bit better when the shooting rate. But Kalev was actually faster in his career in standing shooting, only by 0.3 seconds. But
that's 0.3.
So he's got that
too
on
much. Yeah.
But you still have time to lower your time. So
okay,
time to get faster and your accuracy. I think you said it's a no-brainer. I think
standing is. I think it's like a little bit physiologically also that women, or at least me, and if we compare me and him, it's like physiologically you can see why I shoot better in standing. Because of the body composition and everything. So it makes more sense that standing is better for me.
I've always found that fascinating.
I do some biathlon myself, and I always tell my coach, I don't have hips. that I can lean my elbow on.
Exactly. And I do, so.
Yeah.
I've always found that
regardless,
fascinating.
86. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I've always found it fascinating because women, like we always see it, women are not quite as fast, don't jump quite as high, right? But in this thing, there's definitely an advantage, like RJ said, just don't have the hips,
Exactly.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So do you want to, I looked up some information on you and how you got into biathlon. I'm going to leave that to you to tell us, but it's fair to say that it's been running in your family.
Yeah.
From what I've been reading.
Sure.
So were
as
you
long as I
exposed
can
to it,
remember.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So well, basically, as long as I can remember, like skiing and biathlon has been part of, me growing up, and especially my father being a trainer himself, or my both parents were athletes in the beginning, and then my father continued to be a trainer and worked in first in the Estonian Federation, and now he works for the International Federation, IBU. So it's always been a big part. So I did a lot of sports, so I can't say that it was something that was meant to be for me. But compared to my brothers, I saw that it's an advantage of having, especially my father, both of my parents in this area, because it was between swimming and skiing in the beginning. And then why I chose the winter sports or the skiing was because I didn't think that there's so much my parents can help me with swimming, because they had no clue. But there I could see that, I can get so much help. But compared to my brothers, they saw it more as a disadvantage, parents being there and dad being involved, and I want to do my thing. But I was like completely different. I was like, yay, I get all the help, I get all the inside info. We can work between the camps when others maybe can't. And that was something that was really huge deal for me. So that's why at first it was cross country skiing, but then step by step it became biathlon.
And are your brothers into swimming or something? No, very different.
No sports at all.
Oh, no sports.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, and I also read somewhere that your parents are currently living in Ruhpolding. Is that also because of their connection with biathlon?
Yeah, because my father works for the IBU, and their office is located in Salzburg in Austria, but it's really close to Ruhpolding.
Right.
So it made more sense that they all go there with my smaller brother and mom and dog and father to live there as a family. So that's why.
And is that a bit of a second home for you as well, or?
Yeah, I mean there were also possibilities to live a little bit somewhere else, but because Ruhpolding has the shooting range and all the possibilities for biathlon, I think it was kind of why they chose this place. So so that me, and also when my husband was doing biathlon, we spent a lot of time there, and also now I spend a lot of time there. So it's good that I can continue with my everyday doings, despite that I'm there.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty good position or location to be in for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. When you go and when you race there now, does that feel like racing at home in the same way that racing in Otapa was at Summer Worlds or a couple of years ago during the World Cup, during the World Cup race? Or does it still feel like you're on the road?
Well, like if like race wise, I would say yes, it feels like home, but the cheering wise, it's completely different. The Germans are all like they don't see me as a local girl there, So
we need to change that.
I mean, the atmosphere wise, it feels different for sure. But the way I'm feeling, I feel quite like it feels like home when walking around in Ruhpolding. I know where the stadium is, and I've done so many loops there, and it feels like more familiar than maybe other World Cup places. So in that way, yes, they are quite similar.
So how old were you when your parents moved there?
It was maybe was it like 5 years ago?
Okay.
Ish. So I was 23.
You were already...
I was 22, I think. Because 23 I was, then they already lived there. So maybe 22 I was.
Okay.
So now I'm 28. So it's 5-6 years, yeah.
Yeah, so you were already racing, you were kind of on the World Cup level at that point. Like you were established with the Estonian national team, so you weren't. It's not like you weren't a teenager, right? You weren't a kid when they left.
No. So I was all grown up, and we lived already separately with Kalev in our own apartment. So it was it was okay.
It's a little bit different. Yeah, I was trying to imagine, if you had been younger and they left, that's quite a distance. So like you said, you were already living with Kalev, so it's still hard.
Yeah, but I mean, it's in a way it's easier actually because we meet more often in the Middle Europe in Ruhpolding than we would in Estonia actually. Like of course
That's
time
true.
to time when I'm in Estonia then. But during the COVID times, for example, I didn't go home to Estonia for 4 months because it was like it made no sense to travel that much, and it made more sense to stay, in Ruhpolding and be there. And oftentimes we are in camps here. So also now when we came to Livigno, we were 2 days in Salzburg. So I met with my family there. So oftentimes we meet more often there than we would in Estonia.
Talking about moving around. So before I ask my question, so is Estonian, is that considered a Slavic language?
No,
no.
It's I don't know. No, maybe issue. Well, I don't know.
But it's not a Scandinavian language.
No, it's not. Then I think it's Slavic. Yeah, but it's no way near to like Russian or anything. It's more to Finnish. So if you hear Finnish and Estonian, they would sound the same-ish.
Okay.
But you studied Scandinavian languages, right?
Yeah.
And lived in Sweden?
Well, in school first I studied, English we have to study. And then we got to choose Russian, French and German. So I chose German language. So that's what I studied also. And then I moved to Sweden. So I was, I had to learn Swedish, but I did it on my own. Just by living there. And
Can I ask you why you decided to move to Sweden?
It was after the 9th grade. And my father had some connections. I think it was quite clear for me that I, wanted more and to see the world and, do something differently. And in Estonia, I didn't see a good option like sports school wise. So, and I knew that if I want to, I don't know, there was some inner wish to go and see something else than Estonia, and because of my father had the connections from the biathlon world wise, it was in Sweden, one trainer he knew. And, at first my idea was to go to Finland because, it's so near and the language is quite the same and it's, 3 hours with the ship over the sea and it's quite close, but because we in a way we didn't have some good contacts there, it was Sweden. And at first I remember being like 15, 16 when the decision was made, and I was like I don't know, the decision was just made like we go. And I wasn't thinking, like now when I think back, I was like, what the hell? I was just like going to the different country all alone, not knowing the language and like, I don't know. But back then, I don't know, it was just a big wish for me. So that's why it was Sweden. And I'm super happy that it was Sweden. It was so nice. I learned so much. I got so many new friends. They took me in as, one of them. I never felt like an outsider, even though that I felt that I should be an outsider because I'm not from Sweden, but they never made me feel like it. So I'm forever thankful for them for, taking me in and showing the world in another way.
And did you work on biathlon there as well?
Yeah, I went to the biathlon. It was a sports school, and so we went to this biathlon line.
Nice. And so you obviously learned Swedish, but did you learn Norwegian, or was it more once you know Swedish, it's kind of easier to pick up Norwegian?
Yeah, I mean they're different, but I would say I understand Norwegian-ish, not like completely, but it's not that I talk back Norwegian. I still talk back Swedish, but they understand. So yeah.
So you were 15, 16, 17 when you were doing that. At what point along the journey did you realize that you had the ability, you had the talents, you had the drive to make it to such a high level with biathlon?
Well, I would say I thought I had the ability and talent and everything when I was like younger. And the older I got, the more I realized that maybe I don't have it. The reality was was catching me, because I think I lived in a really nice bubble when I was younger, and, saying it out like, oh, I want to be an Olympic champion felt like, why not? And then actually realizing what it takes to become an Olympic champion and, what are the chances of doing it, and realizing it, I understood that, well, it's not only like, oh, I want this and I want that. I have to work really, really hard for it. So it was a matter of question if I'm willing to put in that work or not. And that's when I knew that, yes, I am, I wouldn't say no matter what it takes, because it's not no matter what it takes, the health and everything comes also first. But in a way it was that's what I want to do. And I make everything else work, like school wise and, private life wise. But that's what makes me happy. I think it was an inside feeling from a really young age. And I think it's also something that it's really hard to maybe put into words, that it doesn't make any sense, for a normal person, maybe, that why are you doing this, or why were you doing this when you were 20 years old and had really bad results. But it was still this belief in myself that I know that, I know what I'm capable of. And just if I believe in myself, continue the work and continue the journey, I know that it will come. But I can also understand that from the side, it was maybe looking like, maybe not, don't do that.
Well, jokes on them, because you did it.
Yeah,
totally.
Yep.
Well, and then last year you really had a sort of a breakthrough season. Was there anything that you did different, or do you think it just more, your growth as a person?
I think everything together, and we also we got a new trainer, and I think there was always this feeling inside of me that I knew that there is some training method that works for me, but I'm not sure what it is. And I think we found it. And of course it's, trying and failing and trying again and, making it work. So you can never be 100% sure that this is exactly what works for me, because it's so complex and we do so many things. But I feel that it's all of this together, getting a little bit older, having this experience, being able to say that, okay, this is not what I want to do. I don't think this works. Can we change it? What do you think? Being capable of talking through the training plan also, and being open about it, and not being afraid of saying that I really don't think that this is what I want to do, or what do you think? And working together with the trainers, and also listening to my own body and making really brave decisions, and listening to the inner voice. I think at a younger age I didn't know how to do it, and even if it felt a little bit wrong, I couldn't say what exactly it was that was wrong. I was just maybe it's not, maybe I'm just not wanting to get out of the comfort zone, and it's fine, it's tired, blah blah blah. But now I would say that I can understand that I made these decisions, but today I would not make the same decision anymore, because I know myself better, and this is what helps me also, I think, now.
I'm so glad you put it that way.
I noticed it.
I'm so glad you put it that way, because when I work with patients and when I work with athletes, one of the things we talk to them about is, and I literally had this conversation this morning, was, about finding your voice, right? Finding your voice and listening to it. Right. And so just hearing that, honestly, just personally, it's very gratifying to hear you say that, because I'm like, oh, yes, you did it. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's often hard
confidence to speak up, like you said, the working with your coaches rather than just doing whatever they say.
Yeah. But sometimes, the inner voice is that just the feeling that, it's not right. But that's the thing, that's the only thing that I have no scientific proof that it's not right. This is just my feeling. And how do you communicate this? That, hey, I just feel that it's wrong, but I have nothing else to prove it to you that it's wrong. So how do you communicate this? That, that's the feeling. And oftentimes, if you don't listen to it, it's easy to believe the coach that no, like on paper it looks right, but my feeling is not right. So there's a really fine line to really understand that this is the risk that we're taking and this is the risk that we're not taking, because I don't feel that it's right,
And how do you, since you bring it up, with what it looks like on paper, do you look at data a lot, or do you go a lot more by, my shooting, even though maybe I shot 70%, but it felt really good and I'm in the right, right mindset, or do you look at data a lot after races or after a season?
So I think I do both. Like it's the data that shows in a way the real picture, but in a way also not, because it's my inside feeling also. And if I look at the data but it still doesn't feel, I don't know, comfortable or something that I don't want to do, then it doesn't make any sense, So in a way I always listen to myself, but I also in a way trust the data also, that like in the perfect world it would be good that I felt good and the results show it that, oh, I was skiing fast. So of course, if I feel like super good, I feel that there's nothing else I can do better, and then I look at the ski time and I'm like, what the hell? Then of course something is off, but usually that should not be the case if I'm on a right way with myself,
Right. And then so you said a big part of the improvement is just some sort of maturity and mindset, but I saw that both your prone and standing shooting have improved last season.
Yeah.
Did you also do a different approach in shooting specifically, or?
I think in a way last season was also like really a lot of bad luck. That's a lot of behind the scenes that doesn't come out, because I had COVID in the first World Cup and I didn't put it into a big, media post or anything. I was going a little bit like undercover with it. I was of course like saying to my, that it's in a healthy wise. Of course, my trainers and everybody knew, but it wasn't like a big thing that I wanted to talk about, because it was something that, it happens. And I just, it was mentally enough hard to, to talk about media about it, that how does it feel? Well, it feels really bad, so leave me alone. And then the season goes so fast. So in a way I understood that, in Lenzerheide I knew I'm really bad because I had COVID. The December, the first trimester is gone, there's nothing else I can do. So in a way I tried to maybe do something with the shooting I know that the skiing will be bad, so maybe I can do it with the shooting. But in a way, if you're not in a good place, then both the shooting and skiing will show it. And then in January, it started to get better. Then in Anterselva, I got the food poisoning. And I was like, well, here we go again, And if you are so weak, then of course you're not capable of shooting, So I had this like bad luck in quite many ways. So in a way, of course, it shows the data that, oh, your shooting was not that bad or not that good. But in a way, I'm like quite calm about it because I know what's behind this. But it's not something that I feel like I have to explain all to everybody. If they ask, then it's, something I can say. But of course, it's something that is a little bit stressing me out, especially the prone shooting, because in a way, I think I know what I do wrong, or I do know what I do wrong, but it's still this old habits that want to come through, especially during the races. And I think knowing that, oh, if I hit now, then it will be a better result. It will be a good result. That this is something that's actually like working against me, So it's like it's just a really complex sport,
Oh, totally, yeah.
So complex.
And I noticed that. So you shot higher percentages, but you actually shot a little bit slower on prone, but faster on standing.
Yeah.
Was that on purpose to take just a little more time with prone, and was the higher hit rate a result of that, or do you think that's digging too deep in the numbers?
I think it was both, that it was like calculated that I shoot a little bit slower, but it was also, I think, I was not able to shoot faster because I didn't want to take the risk of missing. So I was like, okay, I just do everything that I can, and if I feel comfortable, then I think the shooting times comes along. It's not something you can focus on. So I feel that I had to take a step back in my shooting time, and it may feel like a little bit like a bad, or like, oh, you went back in time, with shooting, and and you should get better year by year. But in a way, it was not possible for me because I missed so many shots. So it was the only thing that I could do was to take it a little bit slower, but be more accurate, or at least try it. I never know if it's right or wrong, but at least I tried.
Yeah. No, and I mean, and we're not talking about 5 seconds slower either, right? It's like half a second or something.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing you've always preferred standing over prone, or not necessarily?
Not necessarily. I think I enjoyed when I was like younger, and when I think about biathlon, it's like the prone that I like a lot, but I think standing comes more naturally, and it's like it makes more sense. It's like I know why I hit, and I know when I miss or why did I miss. It makes like more sense, but I feel that in prone I've lost like the connection maybe a little bit of why did I miss? Like I did nothing wrong. I didn't feel it. I have no explanation to it. So I'm like a little bit lost in there, but in standing everything makes sense. So if I miss, I know. So I'm not stressing about it. So I'm like, okay, it's bad that I missed, but I know why, so I can do better next time. But if in prone, I don't know why I missed, I'm like stressed out because like, give me an answer as soon as possible, please.
Right. And so between prone and standing, could you sort of translate the prone shooting and standing shooting in types of music? Like what types of music, what kind of mood are you in when you're prone shooting or when you're standing shooting?
Oh, I have never thought about this in a way, but I think, well, I work a lot with my sport psychologist, and it's more of a feeling that I get in my body. That sometimes when I think about the prone shooting, that I'm getting this heavy feeling of, in my breast or something that I'm like, it's like, oh, again. But with standing, it's like, it's easy. It's like, oh yeah, if I miss, then I know next time it will be better, and it won't be like I'm not worried about it. And it's something that comes like naturally. So someone would say that, have the same mindset in prone, but it's not something that I can switch on and off, because I would do that. So,
yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I just following up on the standing shooting. When I look at the best standing shooters from last year, we have Lisa Vitazzi, Lujan Minot, Vanessa Vogt, Regina Ermits. So that's it, right? You are number 4. So do you clearly one of the best standing shooters in biathlon last year? When you're out there, do you ever watch those other good shooters? Like so those women I just named, also up there around you guys, Emma Lunder, Franziska Preutz. Do you ever like watch them? And is there anything you learn from them, or do you just like, you know what, you're doing your own thing, don't need to watch them at all?
No, of course. I mean, I think it's not only them that I watch. It's both in women's and men's field, and basically, all these athletes that are in top. I think there's a lot to learn. And I think with the names you mentioned also, there's one like clear thing that I feel that, I don't know, maybe sometimes I forget or I don't have it so much, is that they fight more for their shots. And I think this is also something that I don't do. And that's something that I see, that there's something that I should learn from them, that they fight more for their shots. They take it more seriously. And maybe sometimes I go and like, oops, I missed. That I should fight for that shot. I should not take it so, or like let it go so easily. And and either like, for example, Lisa Vitozzi, like she's accurate, she's fast. And if she can do it, there should be a way of me doing this too. So that's always like inspiring. If someone does something well, whatever it is, I think it's always like inspiring that if she or he can do it, there's, this possibility that I should be also capable of doing it. And it's always like good to see and learn and watch and to be inspired.
So you mentioned bad luck in, with the COVID and then the food poisoning. And at some point I had to just feel like, well, is this just going to be one of those years? So then you show up for World Championships here in Nove Mesto and didn't really have very much bad luck there. It doesn't seem.
No.
That was fantastic. No. So, I guess when you got there, having come off of a first trimester with COVID, having had recently the food poisoning, did your body feel good? Did you feel like you were ready for good performances? Or were you just like, you know what, let's just see what happens?
Well, the thing was that during the summer and autumn, I felt good. I had like good results, and also in the first snow camp, I was skiing quite well. So in Östersund, what was 1.5 weeks or 2 weeks later, the ski speed was already lower and it made like no sense. And there was actually one trainer who said that it's not possible to lose that, shape. It's not possible. So I was like, and then the COVID came and I was like, well, it makes sense. How is it possible with 2 weeks that I haven't been sick? I haven't done anything like, you cannot lose the shape with 2 weeks. So I always had that, okay, well, it was COVID, it makes sense. Every time it makes sense, it's like, fine, I can fix it. I know why I had it. Just the comeback was so long. I had to continue racing and work up. So it was like -2 weeks, not focusing on my health, maybe. Then it was the Christmas time, everything. I felt that I could train well. And in Oberhof, I also felt really good. But I felt that maybe I wasn't like recovering that well, but I was able to build it up again really well. Then came the food poisoning. And I was like, well, in a way, it makes sense why I'm bad, because I had food poisoning. So I know what I have to do. So it was never really like bad things happening with me. Just it took time to build myself back. So I knew that, okay, if I stay healthy, it should work out. But if it doesn't, then I know why it doesn't, because, COVID and food poisoning, and it makes sense that my body is not recovering. But I think having this like free time between the last World Cup and World Championships, and we had a really good training block, and then we had this one IPU Cup, and then I don't know, in a way everything just fell into place in Nove Mesto. Everything I said to my sports psychologist and everything, like, biathlon is easy, like, why is it so hard sometimes? And now it's like it makes sense, so in a way it's I don't know, it just, I think I was recovered. I had good luck in health wise, and the track has always suited me really well. So I was really mentally like happy about this, that I know I have some strengths at least. So it was only my shooting that I was, if I focus, if I fight for the shots, I can do it. And as I said earlier, that if the physical part is good, then the shooting is usually also good, or it's easier. When you don't feel good or you're sick, then it's hard to shoot also. So it's all like coming together. And of course, when I had one good race, or I felt that, oh my God, my skiing is good, I have really good skis, then it builds confidence. And if you're confident in biathlon, then good things can happen.
Well, especially the team around you were doing quite well also. So I'm assuming that the wax techs were, on the ball.
Yeah, I really got some really good skis, and I got them one day before the first race. So I wasn't able to test them, but my waxman said, oh, they're good. And I'm like, yeah, we see, And then when I was skiing and I saw that, they're really good, I was like, jackpot. So, I had really good luck with the skis. And it was so funny that they were like so good skis, but they were only meant, for these conditions. So 1 or 1.5 weeks later, we went to Oslo in Norway, and it was quite the same-ish conditions, and the skis were not good at all,
Right.
So it's, it was made for the Nove Mesto snow and conditions and, everything. So it was just for this occasion, like all I could ask for,
Is it typical that you get a new pair of skis just before a World Cup or a World Championship event? Or
especially the World Championships, yes. Yeah. They make this special grinds and they're testing that more. Like, of course, before a World Cup, if all of a sudden, I don't know, some condition comes that I say that, I don't have skis for that, can you give me the skis? Then I get, but usually, I have the skis for every, weather occasion. But in Nove Mesto, it's usually always before the big events that they give you the special, they go there, they test the skis, they put more effort into this event than for a normal World Cup, I guess.
And when you say is that the fact, like, do you ski for Fischer? Or?
Fischer, yeah.
Yeah. So did you actually get new skis from Fischer, or is it just more the skis that your wax team already has? Or
no, I got a new pair, and they were, I think they were grinding the skis that they were testing. So they grinded my new skis with the Nove Mesto grind. Yeah.
Okay.
Just offhand, do you know the best? Do you know the best course time ranks of your career?
Best course time ranks.
Yeah. You don't even have to tell me. You don't have to tell me how good they were, but do you know what races they were?
No, but I think the only thing that I know is that I think my relay last lap was the fastest in my leg. That's the only thing that I know. But yeah,
relay last lap was phenomenal.
Yeah,
the 7 fastest races, so the 6 fastest races that you have run compared to the rest of the field were the 4 World Championships, the individual in Oslo, and the sprint in Soldier Hollow. So
yeah, it would make really much sense because that's where I felt the best. In Oslo, I felt really good on skis, but I shot so many penalties, so it didn't come out in the result wise. And also in Soldier Hollow, I don't know how, because the track was horrible, the flashy snow, and it was so it was crazy, and I felt so good. It was so easy, and I was like, when does it get hard? It's like it's not getting hard. So I was like, oh my god. So it felt really good.
Yeah. So
has the fluor ban impacted your skiing too, you think?
The what?
The fluor ban, like the different types of waxing, or?
I mean, if I look back for the season, I think it affected in a good way, because I think the field came more together, because in previous years I've really seen, the difference between good skis and our skis.
Yeah.
And it's like really demotivating sometimes, especially when I go the first leg in relay. And sometimes the waxers have asked that, give us a feedback. If the skis are if the skis are okay and good, don't say anything. And if they're bad, they can change it for the third and fourth leg. And sometimes I've said that I don't have to give you feedback, because in the first downhill, if I'm not in the group and if I'm falling behind, what do you think? My ski's good or not? It's like you can see it quite clearly. And me personally, being this athlete there, I can feel it, if the others are faster or not. And I think the difference was not that big this season, thanks to the floor ban, that it was more similar. So, and I think our waxmen got really good. I think, the difference was not that big than it was previously, but I think the floor ban for the first year, it makes sense, but they are the big nations are, trying to learn new ways without the floor to make better waxes. So I think in few years' time, the difference might be the same again, because they are developing the new waxes and stuff like this. But for the first year, it was, for me personally, it was actually good.
And that's, I guess, always the big budget gaps between, an Estonia or Norway's.
I guess, and it's also knowledge, I guess, and everything. Yeah. So, yeah.
Although we've heard, from you, but also from Baiba in the past, that the Estonian waxers have a pretty good reputation too.
Yeah, but we also lost many to the other nations. So,
I guess.
So I mean, it's good for them, but not good for us. Yeah.
What you were talking about your race in the USA? What was your experience racing in North America, like the Soldier Hollow and Canmore?
I liked it a lot, and I've always I was there 4 years ago, but then it was, I think, in the beginning of February, and after that we went back and had the World Championships in Östersund. So I felt that there was still this pressure of having the World Championships afterwards. And now, because it was at the end of the season, I felt it was so different that everybody could enjoy it, and the culture-wise, and everything was different, and it was so good to have this whole season behind you, having this pressure of doing well, and then finally going to this different country and different culture and not being there every year. So it was I think mentally I was just so happy. I was like, what? I'm just like, this is so good. This is so cool. Whatever you do, I'm like, yay. So, but last time I also enjoyed both Canmore and Soldier Hollow a lot. And I think it's because I don't usually spend so much time there, and the cultures and everything are so new to me. So, but this time especially having, the good season behind me, and, it goes as it goes. There's, in a way, it doesn't count that much anymore. I can just, enjoy it. The weather was nice. The spring was in the air, and everybody was together, because usually maybe we, live in different hotels, and it was just this biathlon family effect was really nice. And, everybody can feel the season ending. So it's always a little bit more chill.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. After the last race, it was definitely a bit of a party atmosphere. And you wrote, I saw one post on Instagram that you said Canmore is beautiful and hard in capitals. Was it mostly just the warm conditions that made it hard, or is that course? Do you find the course particularly hard?
I think it was both also the altitude, I think, and it was weird because Canmore was, I think, lower than Soldier Hollow, but it felt harder. Like Soldier Hollow didn't feel that hard this time, personally for me, altitude-wise. But in Canmore, I was like, it shouldn't be that hard. It's not that high, and the track is not that hard, but it was so hard. So, but also I think I was getting a little bit more tired. I think we didn't have that good wax anymore there because there was this amount of wax we could take with, and they didn't count that it would be that warm in Soldier Hollow. So I think they used all the wax. So on one race, I was like, I don't know what you put down, under my skis, but I don't think you did anything here, you know.
So what they did is they went to the store, they got some candles and just melted the candles right on there.
Basically. I mean, it was not that bad, and I think in general the conditions were really hard because it's not that everybody else was gliding super well and us not. But if you're tired, if it's the glide is not that good, you know, it's all the hard things. So it was. It was hard.
End of the season is hard enough as it is. I remember talking to a number of athletes that were just like, my energy level is just spent.
Exactly. And I think also we did a lot of other things there, like in USA and Canada. Like we went, you know, to the city and shopping and sightseeing and stuff like this because you also want to see another life. Yeah. And then it was time to race. Of course, I was focusing on races, but in a way, it was not like so professional anymore. So it was the price I paid during the race, I guess.
But it's also like I think you weren't fighting for like a top 3 in the final standing or anything. So then it makes it maybe a little bit easier. Where did you go shopping? Did you go to Banff or?
No, it was like in Canmore, just like sightseeing and not like far away or anything, but just going around,
shopping around.
I know a bunch of people went to a basketball game or a hockey game. Did you go
didn't, no.
You didn't.
In that way, I was like, I have to stay professional and focus on the races. But I wasn't. It was mainly because I wasn't interested. You know, it's not something that I watch. So it felt like it would be cool, but I mean, in a way, I don't really care. So sorry.
don't need to spend the money on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Is there? I'm just curious. Are there still dangerous wild animals in Estonia when you ski there?
I mean, we have bears, but it's not that they are. I usually the ski tracks are near the cities, so usually they don't come there. So I wouldn't say that there are any dangerous ones.
I think I shocked one athlete who was saying that they were skiing really early, and I said, "Did you see any cougars?" And they didn't really realize that that's a possibility there, and it's very, very rare to see them. But it's not something people think about. I wanted to go back just a little bit to the World Championships. If you had to pick one race as your favorite, would you pick the 4th place relay at the recent World Championships or the single mixed relay 2nd place in 2020?
2nd place.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I was so young and it came as a surprise and I don't know, it opened up so many ways and it just in a way it felt that, you know, it's been right that I've believed in myself and like it gave me so much for the future. So, of course, the 4th place, I mean, of course, it means a lot and everything, but in a way, it was something that I expected from myself or everybody expected from us. And in a way, it makes total sense. But then with the 2nd place, I think we were such underdogs and, you know, doing this, it was just, I think it opened a lot of doors for Estonian biathlon in general, showing that, you know, we can. So I think this effect was really, really good. And thanks to that, maybe also we got the 4th place, you know.
Right. Did you?
confidence boost.
I actually forgot. Were you the final skier?
Yeah.
In the single mix, yeah.
Yeah.
And you were what,
and I
6
remember,
seconds behind?
Yeah, I remember because usually it was always, women starting and men the last ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that after Renee shot really well, and I was like, God damn it, why do you put that pressure on me? Like, do you think it's fun? Like, go do it yourself. Like, like why me, So, I know in a way it was a new situation for me to be there. And I was like, oh, it would be so much, better to be the first one finishing and, looking at Renee, like, yeah, do it. But it was just the thought for 1 second. And it was actually 1 year before. It was in Soldier Hollow. We had the same exact race. And I was the last one. The men started. And we were actually leading the race at some point. And that was when I got these thoughts that I don't know exactly what I was thinking, but it was basically like a mental breakdown for me. I couldn't handle the pressure, and I was like, oh my God, it's all on my shoulders. Like, why is not Renee, doing this? Why am I doing this? And I just, I don't know, I felt I'm not ready for it. And it was exactly 1 year later. I had worked so hard. It was actually after this Soldier Hollow World Cup, I contacted the sports psychologist and said that I am not mentally ready to do a good result. That's what I felt, that I'm working so hard for it. And when I have the chance, I'm not ready for it. Like, this is something that we should work on. And I remember having the same thoughts there in Pokljuka when we got the second place. And I remember seeing the thoughts and I was like, Regina, just breathe, have the contact with the ground, control what you can control. This is where you are. And I remember the difference between the two races and 1 year was so big. And I was like, it's exactly the same, but so different,
Right.
So I'm happy I got the second chance, Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And then, because you typically start first on the women's relay, is that right?
Usually, yeah.
Yeah, but would you be okay to be last or the fourth
I've
athlete?
been last, and also in Nove Mesto when we had the mixed relay, the men were starting, and I was the last one. And I was so sure that I will be, the first woman, so the third leg. And when the trainer said you go last, I was like, why? Why me? I'm not the best, or why? But then when I was skiing the last leg, I was like, I'm actually enjoying this a lot. I think I should be the last leg, So maybe we will try something else. Yeah.
Yeah, own that attitude, right? Own that spot.
Yeah.
So then, what was it like then during that fourth place finish at the relay in Nove Mesto when you went first, and then you had to watch, and you were obviously cheering on the rest of your teammates. I mean, that had to be hard in a whole different way, not being in control anymore.
Yeah, I think that was way harder than, racing yourself. And that was also, I always said, watching my husband race and everything, that you have no control. You are so stressed out and like, just hit the targets. But that it doesn't make any sense, like, of course, everybody wants to hit the targets. And it was so stressful to watch and I couldn't help. And I don't know, I was like running around there and I was like, I can't watch. Like, how was it? I cannot watch, So, I was just, I think we were really like humble in a way that we thought that, it's biathlon. It can go either ways really fast.
Yeah.
So let's just wait to the finish line and then be happy because at first I was like, oh my God, what are we doing? And then I was like, okay, stop it, Regina. Like, it's biathlon. Just let everybody do their things, and whatever happens, it's, of course, everybody gives their best. And we've seen these things happening before, so just take it as it goes. And then, of course, in the finish line, it was really great.
Yeah, but I think that attitude is also so much better for especially coming off the first leg. I think you were in third position.
Yeah.
If you're kind of hyper, that probably creates more tension for the third and fourth leg as well.
Yeah.
So if you're there calm and supportive, I think that has a great impact on a positive impact. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Jordan, you want to say something?
I actually was I was going to go back quite a ways, if you don't mind. So this is a note I wrote down, I don't know, 25 minutes ago when we were talking about it. But you mentioned before last season that you, I don't remember if you said new trainers or just new training plan, but what was it that changed as far as the preparation, the types of training you were doing, that made the big difference for you?
Yeah, so we did got a new trainer. And I think what changed was that we had more high intensity trainings and not so much like say 3, 4 or the lower intensity. And I think personally for me, it works better because I've always had this quite high pulse, and like it's always been like super active, my pulse, like it goes really high, really low, like super fast. And I think this medium hard trainings are not working well for my body. Like scientifically, I can understand that they work, and for men in our team, they worked really well. But I felt that it made me so much slower because heart rate wise, the heart rate was up, but the speed was like down. So for my muscles, it was like slow movement and I was not fast. And then when it was time to go fast, the race speed, my heart was not used to this. My muscles were not used to this. So last year we did more of like, hard intervals, like all out or, race speed and stuff like this. So I didn't have to think that, oh, am I doing this in the correct speed? Is my lactate okay? I was like, it doesn't matter, just go, So I think it worked well for my body. So that's I think the biggest change, yeah.
And I would assume that you guys are following a similar sort of plan this summer?
Yeah.
Well, so the plan this year then has to be to avoid COVID and Kontiolahti and avoid food poisoning at some point during the second trimester.
Yeah, exactly. That would be nice.
Yeah.
It makes me think a bit of Baiba, who I mentioned earlier, who also seems to be that type of athlete who just wants to go. And I also noticed you're both sponsored by Oakley. Yeah. And I know she's in a country that's not too far. Do you hang out with her? Are you friends, or are you just?
Yeah. Like when we see it, she often races during Estonian championships or stuff like this. I think she lives quite close to this border of Estonia and Latvia. So it's not that we hang out or train, but if she has a training camp or something in Estonia and we see, then of course, and we chat. So, and during the races also, like, we have good contact. So I think they visit Estonia often than we visit Latvia, though. Okay. Or we never actually visit Latvia in like biathlon sense. So
right.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And about sponsorship, like I actually started to learn about you as an athlete when I saw your post on Instagram a couple of years ago. You're very active on Instagram, and I've tried to look for a photo where you're not smiling, and I haven't been able to find one yet. But are those actually, like, when you do their photo shoots, I think for Oakley as well, but especially for Adidas, like, it looks so professional. Is that like a modeling shoot?
Yeah, they usually organize these things. So there are photos, like 99% I take myself, or Kalev does this for me, my husband. But for some companies that I work with, they organize the professional shoots because they use these images, on media in Estonia.
Right.
So it makes more sense to do it, more better, higher quality.
Yeah. No, it looks very cool. So.
How did that sponsorship come around? Or do you even remember anymore?
I think it's been quite many years actually, but I think it's. Estonia is quite small, so it's in a way it's. I wouldn't say it's easy to get these contacts, of course not. But I think if you are, if biathlon is what I do, and being active and everything, it catches people's eyes, and they are just wondering. And as soon as I feel that this company or this product is going hand in hand with what I'm doing, and it's easy to use, and that's what I would use, then these cooperations are usually like really much fun, and they are long lasting also.
Yeah.
So it comes down to having these contacts and staying active in social media and getting noticed. But I think it was also maybe it was with Oakley, I asked them myself if they would be interested, and they were like, yes, So it's usually they contact me, but I would say there are companies that I've also contacted, or at least asked that if there's any chance, So yeah.
I'm always curious, like, for example, let's say you just personally like Nike pants and shorts and that kind of stuff, but then Adidas says, we'd like to sponsor you, but you're going to obviously have to wear Adidas. Does it bother you? Or are you like, I'm not sure about that? Or are you like, hey, they're all kind of the same, bring it on?
I think for me, it was personally Adidas that I wanted. So if there was, I think with this company, they are selling a lot of brands, and there was like, okay, is there any specific brand you want to be sponsored by? And I was like, Adidas. So if possible, then Adidas. So I'm really happy that, because I felt the connection biggest, and I think it's also really important to be honest about it, because that's the way I can give the best. Give back in the best way, and it's been for many years, and I've enjoyed this a lot, and I enjoy wearing Adidas, so it's just my preference.
Right. I saw that in the IBU. Are you still the gender equality athlete ambassador?
Yeah.
And you're also, for the environment, you did you were captain, right, for the climate challenge?
Yeah.
Is that right? Jordan and I have talked about a little bit about, future biathlon. Do you foresee Biathlon World Cup on roller skis at some point?
If all the same athletes would take part, then yes. If not, then I don't see that. We had the World Championships now in Ottawa. It was great. It was fun, but I wouldn't say it was. It wasn't the same as we normally see biathlon as in winter sports. So it's a good possibility to have races and everything, but right now I don't see it on the same level as long as the best are not taking part. And not only the best, I think like everybody,
The core, yeah. And do you like roller skiing? Like, do you prefer skiing over roller skiing? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty commonly held feeling.
Yeah.
Although it's probably influenced a lot by what happens when you fall.
Yeah, that's true. Right? But I think like the roller skis, it comes down, just working hard on them. But with skis, the gliding and having this glide effect and everything is so more complex, and I enjoy the feeling more. With roller skis, it's just, numb. Just put it down and it goes.
Yeah. So although I will go off, like, it's not an official recommendation, but I use the Rundle Sports, and I think there's 2 other brands that also have sort of the suspension to emulate the gliding a bit. And I must say, personally, I find it's quite a bit better than just the stiff skating race skis. But it's still a big difference for sure.
Yeah.
With the gender equality and the climate change, was that something that you volunteered for, or was that they were just looking for people to do it and you happened to come up?
They were looking at people for the ambassador program, but I could choose myself in which group I felt that I want to take part in. So
got it. Okay. So just quickly, one of the things I usually do before an interview is I scroll through Instagram just to see kind of what's out there. You have one of the more prolific Instagram accounts in the biathlon family, which is magnificent. Have you considered a career in photography after this, like you and Amelia and Jacqueline? Because some of your shots are incredible. There was one in your August, like sort of your August wrap up post of you and Kalev, where you are, the phone is like in a cave and you guys are like framed by the cave with the mountains in the background. That was spectacular.
Yeah, that's really, but I think usually the photos are taken by Kalev, or he sets the position, for someone to, stand here and take the photo. because usually when I take the photo, I take all the wrong things on the photo. So I personally, now I believe, first it was hard to believe when Kalev said that I don't have the eye. And I was like, what are you saying? I do have the eye, but I can understand maybe I don't have the eye. So basically all the photos that are taken are mostly Kalev who has taken them, or, the nature. If I take a photo of, on the mountains and everything, it's just general, beautiful. That's not many ways you can take them like in a bad way, But I don't know. I like it, but I think it's it's something that I should maybe learn a little bit more.
Well, your Instagram account is great. Maybe we'll delete that and we'll give you the credit for all the pictures.
Yeah.
I also at least you can tell me you've got the eye for shooting.
Yeah.
At least that.
Another in that same batch of pictures, there's a picture of you just lying flat out on the mat in Obertiliach. Was it really hot? Were you exhausted? What was the story behind that picture?
It was actually a screenshot from the video.
Okay.
Because it was one of the high intensity blocks, and we finished in the range, and I was just like so done, and I was just on the mat, and I was like, oh, finally I'm done. And then our physio knows that Instagram is something that I'm happy if someone takes the pictures naturally, and so she did. And that was actually a video, and I just took a screenshot out of it.
Yeah, because you look exhausted. So clearly that was a heck of a workout. And then last thing from this, there was another picture of Kalev, and he is playing basketball. Do you play basketball as well?
Just for fun.
Yeah, just for fun.
At
okay,
home,
so do you ever play against him?
In the evening, if we just we do small games. Yeah,
and you beat him, correct?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I thought.
Yeah. For me, last question. So maybe you can just get in time to the dinner for dessert. Do you have any thoughts on the rule change with the top athletes moving back to Group 3?
I mean, I personally understand both sides, the athlete sides and the IBU sides. I think they all have their own, advantages and disadvantages. So in a way, I understand both ways. So it comes down to meeting halfway, I guess, and just maybe like with baby steps to start and to see. So I've read all the articles and I know everything about it. But I think it's also a little bit hard for me to have a saying, because it's not me who it affects that much. That's not. I'm not the top 1 or the top 5 or the top 10 that gets affected the most. So in a way, I want to support them, of course, but in a way I also understand the IBU side, and in a way it's hard to understand because I've never been in their position, their athlete's position. So I just hope that they meet that everybody's happy.
Sure. Yeah. And then did you see the Czech Biathlon, their summer championships, the event that took place a couple of weeks ago, where they had the race at night and they had the fans out there with the flares and the singing? Did you happen to see that?
I did.
Would you be interested in taking part in an event like that?
I think it would be fun.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know, because there's I was wondering, because I was like, it looks like it could be fun, at least from a fan perspective. Then I don't know, as an athlete, like skiing through the flares, like, is that obviously not dangerous, but is that something that would be a little bit off-putting?
Yeah, I mean, it's for a show, so I think that nobody takes that super seriously. So as long as it's for the show and just for fun, then I see why not.
Tell you what, it looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then I have one last question, and then I guess we can let you go eat, because I'm sure you're hungry by this point.
Yeah, because I have to go, actually.
Yeah.
I'm in a hurry a little bit.
All right, last question, then you can go. The most important question of the night. Your husband, on his LinkedIn, he has it written down that he is a coach, personal trainer, and a chef. So which of those is he best at?
Well, all of them, but he cooks really well. He's but I know how how much he loves being a trainer. So I say he's best at being a trainer because he is.
What a good spouse. What a good partner. That's a great answer.
Yeah.
We'll let you go.
Was there anything you wanted to say before we say goodbye? Like any sponsors you want to mention, or any other athletes or colleagues? Or
No, I don't know. No, I just think in general, like biathlon is really a lot of fun, and it's happy. I'm really happy that I get to be part of it, and it really is what it looks like. It's not like how it looks one way, and then, for example, you come to see the race, and you're like, "What the hell? That's completely different." So I'm really happy that it's honestly really cool, and I'm really happy that I get to be part of it.
Well, I'm really happy that you're part of our podcast. So
very much so.
Much for that.
Yes,
thank
absolutely.
you for inviting.
You need to go eat, so we'll call it quits here. Thank you so much. We really enjoyed this.